Hey guys, what's going on? Is here. First, before we get into anything, this is gonna be episode 2 of the Sunder build diary. I do want to say sorry. This is gonna be coming out a little bit late because the servers were offline today when I originally got ready to sit down and record this. So I'm recording it late, but is what it is. That means stream's gonna be late too. You guys won't know this until it's actually up and I'll already be streaming. But there you go. So we're about halfway through 96. I'm gonna remember to start with a map showcase, a T16 here, rolled with non-mods. This is Arid Lake, so this is a super big wide open map, obviously. So this is about as bad as it could possibly look, a build like this, considering, you know, how Sunder is and how you kind of clear in a straight line. So typically you like you know, more tight and closed type things, kind of like how like RF likes to, you know, like you like the thin hallway, the thin corridor type maps. Sunder's still fine. It's just I personally find it more annoying to like have to aim around as I clear. I like to just you know, I like to just walk in a straight line and right click every once in a while, you know. That's what I like doing. Anyway, so as you can see, we're absolutely shredding this T16. So I got a lot of upgrades yesterday. I did very well yesterday. Really pounded out a lot of the stuff that I needed to get. And before I got half of these upgrades, I killed an elder, and I know elder is not like a elder's elder, right? But it was a nice little benchmark for the DPS, right? It was a nice little benchmark to see how the damage was. And before I got half these upgrades, that give me a massive, I'll go over what it was, a massive increase in damage. I killed elder in the final phase where he's full HP and you burst him down. 3 seconds. 3 seconds flat, insta-dead. And now we do roughly 50% more damage than we did then. So again, what you're seeing right now is us actually clearing with Impaler, which I've gone over this tech enough. You actually deal significantly less damage in it, with Impaler. It just really helps clearing due to the mechanics and how it works with Sunder. We're also in Sand Stance, by the way, just for extra AoE. I do swap for essences. As you can see, they take no time at all. Yeah, so the build's popping off pretty hard. You can see that we do have the Vuln on the hit ring, obviously, considering everything's being cursed with Vuln as we walk by. Vuln is really big for the build. I did talk about a lot of this stuff in the Sunder mechanics guide, but I'll go over it again here in a minute. So we'll throw down our stuff. That's how fast we kill a T16 map boss. Again, with Impaler, meaning anytime we hit, basically anytime we hit something more than 5 times, which, spoiler alerts, my Rage Vortex hits 12 times a second with max frenzy charges, which I had. It's like 10 times without, but it's like 12 times a second. So anytime we use Rage Vortex ever, or anytime we have to attack multiple times, we basically don't have Impale. And what that means is anytime something doesn't die in 1 or 2 hits, I'm dealing like a little bit less than half the damage than I otherwise would. That's how big of a deal taking Impaler is when it comes to single target DPS and the difference, right? And obviously I've been doing most of this map one-handed, so it's not, you know, we're not blasting. You could blast if you wanted to. The most dangerous thing, like this was always posed a threat to this always posed a threat to Rite of Ruin builds in general, but it's extra worse this patch, or extra bad, I guess. Just the ground degens with these Arch and M mods are just absolutely wild. They deal so much damage. Anyway, yeah, so we're halfway through level 96. Haven't been blasting too hard. Been spending tons of time in heist. It took me 33 and a half. I say half because my last character, I still need to upload the rip clip. Last character died in a heist, and I was halfway through the wings when he died, so that's the half. I actually would have been very sad had I gotten the gym in the heist. Well, then again, if I got the gym, I wouldn't have died because of how I died. Anyway, so 33 and a half grand heist to finally get our Anomalous Sunder. So this is with Anomalous Sunder, how fast the wave goes. It is at the point where I can hold down right click and still get max waves. Even with onslaught, even with high rage and stuff, I still get pretty much max waves while clearing. They're not completely instant yet, but we will get there because the next thing that we're going to do is farm Lab Enchant. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, but considering I got the Sunder Lab Enchant in Merc Lab, which means it's 15% instead of 20% on the wave delay reduction, but still. I got that while leveling on League Start Day 1, so this means that I'm probably not going to see it for a very long time, if at all, given, you know, RNG equalization, right? But maybe I get lucky, we'll see. So, tons of stuff to go over. Let's see here. I guess first things first, I will go over tree changes. So I've clicked out of attack mastery, simply due to passive points. I don't remember if in the last video I had path through the short route here, but I did path through the short route here at one point just to free up points everywhere else. But as soon as I could, I went the long way for martial experience because we want that extra life recovery per second for leech because it helps a lot with just having better regen anytime we're attacking due to, you know, Rite of Ruin. So we've grabbed our small life node here and basically have all the life nodes we'll need. At this point, we'll be sacrificing damage nodes to grab life because we still need the 3% chance to deal triple damage, which is a big damage increase for this build given how Rage Vortex works and how many times it attacks. Attack mastery for 40% increased damage with melee hits close range. Potentially 2% life regen while moving. I've clicked this on and off constantly while leveling and in PoB, and it's okay, but it's nothing crazy. It's just the only reason that I'm even like super thinking about it, I guess, is simply because of how crazy ground degens are right now, and it gives you like an extra, at least for me in my PoB, it was like an extra 150-ish life regen at max rage. So that's with degen, by the way. When I say at max rage, I mean at 75 rage while degenning. This will put me like positive 200-ish life regen, which just means I'll die slower to the crazy dots on the ground. Because that's basically the only thing that like feels really threatening to me right now. And the Arch Nemesis nerf coming through is great. That was the first map I've done, and I was one-shotting most stuff anyway, so I don't know if I'm gonna feel much of a difference. I would only really feel it against like Sentinel mobs and Steel Infused mobs sometimes. But yeah, that's still going to be a thing with the current patch we're playing on. Ground degens are insane, and that is by far the biggest threat to this character. When you run a map and there's tons of just, you know, how they change the Archnem mods and what can spawn. When you run a map and there's just tons of that stuff spawning in that map, it can just be kind of sad, especially if you go through like a screen or two of like no monsters spawning, but there's like lots of dead degen on the ground and your character's just like, your HP is just constantly going like this. I find it really annoying. It's very scary when there's an executioner mob there, since they drain your life and you can't recover above half life, and then you're also standing on a degen, your health goes like it's very fast. Anyway, preamble out of the way. What else? I have now manually pathed towards cleaving. I did previously have cleaving anointed, and the reason why we have now manually pathed there is because we have Disciple of the Slaughter anointed. So I was actually saving up all my blighted maps and everything to like juice blight today, actually, after the Archnem nerfs, because it should have made blight in general as a mechanic a lot easier to run, with all the monsters being a lot squishier. However, I did take this node on the tree, just this one here that upgrades the tier by 1 and guarantees blight bosses, and I got 3 opals and 2 silvers across 11 hours yesterday. So I was able to just straight upgrade to a gold and anoint Disciple of the Slaughter. And we have our endgame amulet, which you probably saw when I flashed the inventory earlier. Yeah, so I also pulled out, because we have the amulet, I pulled out of Bannerman and Reservation Efficiency. So here's the thing. I'm going to go over this real quick. Before, when I pulled out these 2 nodes, I put them into Destroyer. And then once I got my Disciple of the Slaughter anoint and I needed to actually manually path towards cleaving, that's where I got the points from. So these 2 points here, and then the attack mastery for 40% damage in close range, and then the 2% life regen while moving. Those were the 4 passives that I gave up to grab cleaving. Now, I think that is everything regarding the tree. At this point, my damage is honestly so insane and is going to keep getting better. We still don't have a 6 link for the Sunder. We still don't have the axe that I plan on crafting. There's a lot of stuff that I still don't have. I still don't have the, this is very important. I don't have Rage on Hit implicit on my gloves yet. After a few hundred embers, I don't have Intimidating Cry cooldown on my boots yet, which would actually give us the 2 Rota that is in my POB. So there's a ton of stuff here I have to get even more damage. And honestly, the damage of the build is already so absurd that I might just start looking at culling some damage off the tree and just putting a few more points into life somewhere, because we still have the full the Scion cheese wheel up here for life, and then I have 2 notables down here to grab life as well. That's what I may end up doing, or maybe I just grab like a jewel socket or something. Who knows what I'll do, but I may even like sacrifice a damage wheel somewhere, some damage somewhere, and grab endurance charges and maybe go for endurance charge tech on the chest piece. Because like I'm thinking like you could path through the bottom here. You could path through the bottom here and get 20% endurance charge duration here, which would put you at a 12-second duration. And then if you got, we have 1 jewel here, which is, you know, 13 seconds if you get the thing there. So 2 jewel sockets plus this would give us 14 seconds on endurance charges, which should be pretty easy to sustain. I would only need 1 Orb of Conflict or 1 of the tier 2 embers to hit that on a chest, and then we would sustain endurance charges, and that would make us a lot tankier. That being said, I don't even know if Harvest still has the add a implicit, but I hope it does. I don't know why I'm thinking of things mid-video and I'm supposed to be showing off what I've done, but that's where we're at. Yeah, I don't see it immediately. Yeah, I don't see it immediately, so I wonder if there's some other way to get that. Because the increased duration of charges was really nice before. Oh well. If that's not a thing, it's not a thing and whatever, then that dream's dead, but just musing about things I could do. Anyway, that's the passive tree explained and possible changes you may see in the next video. From there, we're gonna hop into gear, and this is where things get really interesting. So, I guess I'll start with the obvious thing, right? I got Ashes. So Tarky, I want to thank him personally. Thank you, Tarky, for the amazing showcase and the coaching I received through his video. So last league start, I was all butthurt. I started with DD and Arch Nemesis was super overtuned. I wasn't having fun, and then I watched the newest Tarky video where he was talking about his league start. And he's like, yeah, so I killed Exarch and I just dropped an Omni on the quest version. Just drop it, forehead. And I was like, you know what? That's a good fucking idea. So I killed Eater on the quest invite, and I got my Ashes. So GG. Thanks, Tarky. Better player because of you. Thank you so much. So now that I've officially become a top tier player and I've you know, confirmed reliably farming in Ashes with no room for error. That's always going to happen, I'm sure. That took care of our amulet slot, so I was able to anoint Disciple of the Slaughter, and that's why all of a sudden Blight became a high priority for me, because originally I was using a really crappy amulet that had bench crafted life on it and 16 all res. It did also have tier 1 lightning res on it, or tier 2, I can't remember. But I was at like 200% lightning res. I didn't need that res. The only thing I lost from dropping that amulet was a little bit of attributes, like a little bit of int basically, because the implicit on this is low. And then I lost like 10% cold res, which was really easy to fill in. So nothing was really lost. You will notice, however, that the quality, which is the thing that we really care about the Ashes for, is bottom rolled. Literally bottom rolled. So I hit this with 3 divines so far, and it's still bottom rolled. I went from 20, I picked it up at 21, and then I divined it and it went to 25, and then chat peer pressured me and we hit it again, and then it went to 21, and then I hit it again and it went to 20. I have 1 divine left currently, but I need to start saving them for meta modding to make my end game axe. So that's just gonna have to sit for now. If you're wondering how big of a deal this is, Anomalous Sunder gains 0.5% wave delay reduction per point of quality. So at a 20% quality Anomalous Sunder, you're getting 10% additional wave delay. This Ashes obviously is giving an additional 10%. If it was 30, we'd have 15. Excuse me. So it's not like crazy, but it would be nice to have it. Anyway, so that's Ashes. Sorry if you guys mauled. You don't need an Ashes to play the build, but I did say from the very beginning in all my other videos, I did plan on farming an Ashes for this build, so I just saved some time on my completed ETA to finish the build, right? Moving on from there, I have what is likely to be my endgame helmet, simply due to how like normally I would not be anywhere near like satisfied with this helmet, but because of how crafting works currently, this will be like, if I do replace this, it'll be like later on down the line when I replace everything else, right? So we have a I-85 pick face bassinet, which is the minimum for tier 1 spell sup. We managed to hit T3 life, T2 lightning res, and T1 spell sup with an open prefix to bench craft on Fizz taking his fire, which is a big deal, helps a lot. And then we also got the implicit through Eater, right? Yeah, Eater for an additional 6% Fizz taken as fire. So we have 12% Fizz taken as fire there, which is all these Fizz taken as crafts are really helping us, especially since we don't have endurance charges on this build yet. So that's really helping us mitigate. We also have it on the chest as well, if you don't remember from the last. I don't even know if I had this in the last video, but we also have it on the chest piece, which is an additional 6%. So that's 18%, and then 5% on lightning as well. So basically 23% of all Fizz damage we take is being mitigated, transferred to elemental damage at this point. So that helps us a lot with Fizz mitigation. So yeah, like I said, normally I wouldn't be happy with this, but you know, you take what you can get in the current day and age, especially in HCSSF with the crafting and stuff. It's a pretty sad state, but it is what it is. So unfortunately the T1 spell sup bottom rolled the 13%. Kind of sucks, but it is, like I said, it is what it is. So there are a lot of people asking me like, how are you gonna craft your stuff? And they wanted guides and stuff. I did read those comments. I didn't respond to them simply because I didn't really know yet. I didn't know what to say. A lot of this patch comes down to, I'm confident that I can craft a really good axe. Everything else is really going to come down to basically just throwing essences and every once in a while throwing harvest crafts at it and just waiting until you get a good hit. That's, unfortunately, that is what crafting is currently in SSF. So, yeah, that's all I got for you guys. There isn't a whole lot to really go through. And when I say harvest, I will explain this real quick. There are certain crafts, like for Curse on hit rings, hitting it with caster. So here's the thing. We didn't just get like a massive amount of less crafts available to us, like in terms of the amount of crafts we can do. Each one of these crafts is severely nerfed in terms of their weighting, right? So this caster craft you see here is not equal to the ones you were getting last patch. It is significantly weaker. It is way weaker, right? So here's the thing. It doesn't really matter, because when we're going for like a Curse on hit ring, there's like no real caster tags on rings to begin with, right? Like it's competing with like cast speed. So I can keep slamming it with this, and even if the weighting of this craft is like destroyed, it doesn't really matter because there's no competition in the mod pool to begin with. So you're still gonna be very consistently rather, hitting Curse on hit, right? Another good example is the Chaos craft is also very, very good. It's probably why it's more expensive than the other ones. Because if I throw on a pair, like anything, if I throw on a helmet, a chest piece, gloves, whatever, assuming it's not like influenced by one of like the Conquerors or something, I throw this in and I hit Reforged Chaos, there's nothing else it can roll, so it's going to guarantee that the item has chaos resistance, right? So these are the only things that I'm really kind of taking advantage of when it comes to harvest crafting. And then sometimes doing life when I have those. The rest of these are just kind of trash in my opinion. That's all I've really been using it for. I didn't start using harvest until after they buffed it. I had it blocked until about 2 days ago when I started needing some resistance swap crafts. That's why I originally unblocked it. And then from there, I started needing a Curse on hit ring, and I started needing chaos res, and those are the two big things that I needed. So that's what I've been using harvest for. And other than that, it's really just been essence spamming and unfortunately chaos orb spamming. So past that, on the boots, small upgrade over the last ones. I believe that we're in the last video. It's been a few days. Tier 3 life, so it's not as good. However, they have a lot of resistances on it, which is all I can really ask for right now. This is going to be pretty close to the chopping block in terms of what the next upgrade will be, simply because it doesn't have any spell sup on it at all. But I'll go over like the planned upgrades after I go through all my gear here. On my gloves, it's really sad. It's so sad. So they're I-85, and I would just take these straight to endgame. I love everything about these gloves. They are literally perfect, except I have tier 3 spells up instead of tier 1. That is literally the only thing that I don't like about these gloves. I got a good enough life roll to be happy in current patch, right? I got good resist rolls. I got my chaos res. I got spell sup. And I got an open prefix. It even had a decent prefix of having increased armor. So I got everything I could have wanted, except the spell suppression is not tier 1, which means I will not be able to spell sub cap as long as that's not a tier 1. So this will have to get replaced at some point. It's very depressing. But right now, it's not my top priority because I have a few other things that need to be fixed first. Now, in the chest piece, how did I get this? I farmed Chains That Bind through Pen. I'm almost to a second turn in now. Here's the thing. When you do Chains That Bind, its item level actually caps out at 80. And now that to cap spell suppression for left side tree builds, if you're only taking Entrench on the tree with the mastery, you need full T1 rolls everywhere. You cannot get T1 on a chest piece until it is eye level 86. So any 6-link you do get via Chains That Bind will be a temporary chest piece. Now, I'm 2 div cards off getting another one from Chains That Bind. I haven't really been farming it, but you know, from farming a bunch of heists and everything else, I've gotten a ton of stacked decks, and I've almost got another turn in. Anyway, decent enough chest piece. I rolled it. I got 2 good resistance rolls. I got 99 life basically, and then 31 strength on top of that. It's an extra 15 life. So we got like 110 to 115 life on here with an open prefix for the new Gravicius craft. And it's good enough for now, right? This is like the immediately one of the things that needs to be replaced. I have been just farming fusings the past day and a half. I'm at about 700-ish fusings, I think now, maybe 800 through the past day and a half of farming. And I'm just gonna go, I think ultimately what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna farm up 3,000 fusings for my double 6-link. As from the 5-link scenario, RNG has not been in my favor, and in the past like league or two, I've really kind of just started leaning towards just farming up the 1,500 for the bench to have it guaranteed, because it only takes me like, you know, 3 days of farming moderately to get that amount of fusings, even when I'm not focusing on it in previous leagues, to get it a guaranteed. And that doesn't feel as bad as hitting it with like 300 to 500 to 600 fusings at a time, not getting it, and then starting again from scratch and feeling like I've made no progress. So I've kind of started erring on that side, because farming fusings doesn't take very long anymore. There's a lot of stacked decks in the game to get the fusing div cards. There's a lot of div cards that drop from relatively common maps that don't have terrible layouts that you get fusings from. And honestly, as much of a meme as it is, running corrupted strongboxes, the new arch nemesis monsters that drop a bunch of 6 sockets, and all the 6 links you get from corrupted strongboxes, and the trash ones you sometimes may get from arch nemesis as well, do actually contribute a ton of extra fusings that you wouldn't otherwise have. So yeah, farming fusings hasn't been much of a problem at all. So public enemy number 1 for me right now is getting a I-86 dragon scale, and then crafting it up, and then just bench craft 6-linking it. And then after that, I'll start farming up 1,500 again to 6-link my GG axe. And here's the thing. I don't know how long it will take me to hit my axe. There is some RNG involved in the crafting, obviously, and other materials I'll have to farm. So it's pretty easy to say that by the time that I am ready to 6-link the axe, I will have the fusings I need based on how many other things I need to get sorted before then. Like, you'll notice my ring, my curse on hit ring here, which is honestly pretty terrible. It's on a topaz, and I need it to be either a amethyst or an unset ring. It is neither of those, so until I get stuff like this sorted out, I actually can't even sacrifice the socket here to 6-link my Sunder. So there's a bunch of other stuff I need to worry about before I even care about getting the second 6-link. So if you're like, oh my god, he's gonna farm 3,000 fusings, that sounds terrible. It's not actually that bad, because I have other stuff I need to sort out first anyway. Onto the belt. The belt's honestly really bad. It's T3 life. I got some armor on it, which is pretty cool, but it's got bad cold res, decent fire res, and an open suffix. This is immediately what I'm trying to replace via a Stygian. I've been crafting Stygians. I'm trying to get basically, I want a Stygian with at least T3 life, and then a very high chaos res roll, and then two very high base res rolls, right? So we're talking, you know, like really high lightning and fire, whatever, pick 2. And then I'll do whatever with the open prefix. I think you can benchcraft on life regen on the belt on the prefix. I'm not sure. Like the mana craft or whatever. I'll find something to do on the prefix. If nothing else, I'll benchcraft on armor or something stupid. It doesn't really matter on the belt. So that's the plans for the belt. Our other ring here, I can't remember if I had this in the last video or not, but basically this is like tier 1 life on the ring because we also have 39 strength on a tier 1 unveil roll that gives us mana regen. So this is effectively 77 life on the ring. We got some mana regen. We have good resistances, and we have an open prefix for Elrion craft. So with the new setup and running life tap and getting fortify from the tree instead, we can actually get away with only running one Elrion craft. There is one downside here though. I may eventually drop the second Elrion craft, as right now I have 67 mana. You can see everything here, like Leap Slam costs 3 mana. If that costs 10, nothing really changes. If Frostblink costs 11 to 12, that doesn't really matter. You know, Intimidating Cry, like all of these, it doesn't really, with my current amount of mana, it doesn't really matter if I have an Elrion craft or not. The biggest thing is Molten Shell taking 18 mana, but all of these things, I can absolutely sustain the mana cost of without the Elrion craft for a double endurance. So the only time you're gonna have like maybe it might be a little bit tight here is obviously for people who don't have an Ashes, still running reservation efficiency. You may need a single Elrion craft, but then it's not going to matter in your case anyway, because you can just get an endurance charge on your amulet, because I obviously lost a bench craft due to having Ashes, right? So overall, it still works itself out whether you have an Ashes or not. Just something to be aware of. I may end up dropping the Elrion, but if you don't have an Ashes, you may want to keep one Elrion and do 2 bench crafted endurance charges if you don't feel like you need it. And you can also sacrifice a passive point too. You can still grab the Dread Banner mana reservation efficiency node mastery on the Impale mastery, and then that should definitely give you enough mana to run a triple endurance charge setup if you would prefer to do that. So that is something you can do. On our Curse on Hit ring, I know I flashed it a bunch already, but basically we have a crappy life roll and then filled suffixes. At least we got T1 life regen, which is honestly really nice. We got T1 Vuln on hit, and we got our life regen per second. Now, I'm going to kind of go over why Vuln is such a big deal for this build. So pure Rage Vortex builds use Poachers Mark, obviously. What Poachers Mark does is basically it'll give you a bunch of life and mana whenever you hit the target, and that synergizes very well with something like Rage Vortex that hits 10 plus times a second. Not only that though, it can give you frenzy charges. It has a 5% at max quality chance to give you a frenzy charge anytime you hit the enemy. Normally this wouldn't be a reliable way to sustain frenzy charges, but like I said, Rage Vortex by itself can hit over 10 times a second, especially if you're playing a pure Rage Vortex build and you're using something like a Despot. You may even reach something like crazy, like 15 hits a second. You can hit a lot per second, right? And that's gonna, you know, you're still using Blade Storm and all that other stuff on a pure Rage Vortex build that makes it very easy to sustain those max frenzy charges. And that scales the damage so hard, because not only are you getting at 3 frenzy charges a 12% more damage multiplier on your damage, you're also getting 12% additional attack speed. And I've been over, you know, ad nauseum how big of a deal attack speed is for Rage Vortex. Friendly reminder again that PoB does not correctly calculate the DPS of your Rage Vortex on a Berserker build. Now, here's the important thing. Vuln, right? If you're doing a pure Rage Vortex build, I'll break this down simply, right? If you're doing a pure Rage Vortex build, you're going to use Bloodlust for single target. And in a pure Rage Vortex build, you use Blade Storm as your like ability. So like Rage Vortex is like 90% of the build. You have a small amount of time that you're going to spam Blade Storm while mapping, but it's a lot of it is really just to generate to kill like white mobs and to generate rage. So the only purpose of Blade Storm, especially while bossing and stuff, is simply to generate rage. However, when you're in Blood Stance, it gives you more attack speed, as long as you're standing inside of it, if you didn't know that. And more importantly, it bleeds the target. If you hit an enemy while in Blood Stance with Blade Storm, which becomes Bloodstorm, I think, you bleed the target, guaranteed. Now, we don't have that. And Bloodlust is one of the strongest, if not the strongest support in the game. I guess like Bloodthirst, which is like the low life melee attack support gem is stronger, but yeah, we can't use it for obvious reasons. But Bloodlust is one of the strongest supports in the game when it comes to melee attacks, but it's typically quite hard to use because you only get this massive, it's basically pre-expedition damage on a support gem in terms of its multipliers. But here's the thing. You can only use it on a target that's bleeding. That's the only time you gain damage from it. However, whatever it's linked to cannot bleed. And most builds only have one way to attack. They only use one main skill, right? So this kind of locks it out of most builds. Now, we fit it into this build because we have vulnerability on hit. So this is how we're getting our bleed, right? And you may think, wait a second, Fizz, but Vuln on hit, what does that do? Well, it gives us a 20% chance to bleed on hit, right? Now, you can actually also get an alt qual for, I think it is Brutality, that gives a 10% chance to bleed. So if 20% is not high enough for you, you can go for 30%. Now, this is going to do two things. When you're clearing, you do actually get the damage on the Rage Vortex. You're not going to need it, but you do get it simply because when you throw out the Sunder, right, everything's going to get hit from the waves, but then all the shock waves, the same tech that we're using, abusing with Impaler, all those overlapping instances of damage are very likely to bleed targets, especially if a target is living through all that. Because as you can see, while we're mapping, everything's getting hit. So you're very likely to bleed any type of target while mapping that is actually going to need to have a Rage Vortex on them. And aside from that, while bossing on single target, the base bleed duration, if I remember correctly, is about 5 seconds. Could be wrong. I would have to double check this, but I believe base bleed duration is at least 5 seconds. If it's not 5 seconds, it's longer. It's definitely not less than 5 seconds. Anyway, we have a 20% chance to bleed. We attack more than 3 times per second, and this is only our Sunder. Okay, this is only our Sunder. So we attack more. It's like 3.5 times a second is how many times we attack with Sunder. And it's vulnerability, right? So when a target is cursed with vulnerability, attacks have a 20% chance to bleed them. So Rage Vortex cannot bleed them, right? But our Sunder can bleed them. Our totems can bleed them. Yeah, so our totems are attacking, you know, we're going to have 3 totems out because we have Ancestral War Chief and Multi-Totem Ancestral Protector. And you need to have those out anyway because you need the maim, you need the damage buffs that they give, right? So you're going to have totems out. You're going to be hitting them like 20 times a second. Like, they're going to be able to sustain the bleed. Because I saw some Reddit comments because someone posted my build on Reddit. They're like, oh, this isn't realistic. There's no way he'll sustain the bleed. Trust me, you sustain the bleed. It's not a big deal. Yeah. Anyway, moving on from there. That's the tech on Vuln, and it's why it's so big, right? So not only do we gain like 20+% overall damage for the build by using vulnerability, and also we don't use Poachers Mark for 2 reasons. 1, socket pressure, and 2, simply because I'm basically giving up 2 frenzy charges and base life on hit. That is what I'm giving up by running Vuln instead of Poachers. But here's the thing. We're not a pure Rage Vortex build. A large majority of our build actually comes from Sunder. Even if we do more single target damage with Rage Vortex, a large part of the damage is still coming from Sunder. And vulnerability has a lot. It gives a lot more damage to Sunder, right? Because you're not proccing that like flat 20 to 30 fizz every single hit, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you know, when you're attacking so fast, it does kind of add up. But just the synergy here for what we're doing, it's not like a pure Rage Vortex build, so this is definitely the most optimal thing to do in my opinion, because this also lets us use Bloodlust support, which is huge. Because before that, I was using Rage support. I was using Anomalous because it gives bonus attack speed. I just happened to pick it up while heisting for Anomalous Sunder. But before that, I was using Rage support, right? And you should do this too. I see a lot of people asking for help in my Discord. They're using Bloodlust support without a vuln on hit ring, so they're basically just wasting a link. It's doing nothing for you. So Anomalous Rage is just flat fizz. It doesn't do a whole lot for you. And if we're talking like the actual damage, this is going to give you like 10% damage. This is going to give you 10% DPS increase. Whereas Bloodlust support is going to give you like a 40% DPS increase. So that's a pretty big difference, right? So on top of Vuln already giving your build like 20% increased damage overall, as soon as you put Bloodlust in, your total DPS is going to go up Mongo. Like, it's huge. The damage difference from literally just getting a Vuln on hit ring and changing from rage support to Bloodlust support is going to skyrocket your damage. And keep in mind, this is what I was talking about earlier. Before I got some of these upgrades, my Elder kill, which again, Elder is not like anything, right? But it is like a little benchmark to see, oh, how's my damage, right? How fast can I kill this target dummy, right? In the last phase. It was 3 seconds. And that was before we got like 40 to 50% more damage for the build, just, you know, just like that for replacing 2 things. So yeah, this is huge. It's a huge deal. So like I was saying before, things that immediately need to get fixed. I need to get a new belt. And then, crafting a chest piece here once I get my, finish my fusings, but obviously I need to start working on crafting it. So, today's stream is going to be probably, speccing into Abyss and getting all my I-85 and I-86 bases. And then the boots have to go as well, because we do need suppression there. So starting to work on the last bit of suppression that I'm going to need to be capped for the most part. And then slightly longer term than that is within the next 2 or 3 days is getting the right ring here. What I think I'm going to do end game is, you can see here that I'm not running faster attacks on Leap Slam. This is something I've been recommending to people. Currently, with Frenzy Charges now, with Disciple of Slaughter and Max Rage, I have so much attack speed that half the time when I Leap Slam, it will double input and make me Leap Slam twice. 1, it's very annoying. And 2, I needed the extra socket here because, again, I don't have an unset right now. Because I don't have an unset, something had to go. Faster attacks is by far the easiest thing to get rid of. So that's what I did. And honestly, I can't feel the difference at all. Leap Slam's still so fast. So that's the difference there. But yeah, gonna have to sort out the stuff. The gloves make me really sad because I'm gonna be at like 90 what? Yeah, I'm gonna be at like 96% spell stop, 97 or something. It's gonna be really depressing, and then I'm gonna have to craft new gloves. So that's the immediate future. Getting correct rings here, and I think what I'm gonna do for the end game ring, if I'm still playing the build at this point, is I'm just gonna farm Drox and try to get a exalted, a Warlord Exalt, jeez, and throw it on a Vermilion ring. Keep faster attacks out of the build, and then use a Drox influence Vermilion ring and do that instead to get extra life on the build, since running in Ashes obviously took a hit to our life. Not necessarily our EHP, right? Because it's going to give us like increased level on our determination and everything due to the +1 level of skills. And extra quality on Dread Banner and stuff like that, and increased levels on Dread Banner. So it's not like a straight loss in EHP, because we do get a lot of stuff from Ashes, even defensively. However, it is losing more just like flat HP, which is something the build already didn't have a ton of, which is why I also said I might, you know, end up culling stuff. There's still a lot more life I can get on this. Like none of my stuff has like perfect life rolls anymore, and there's some stuff that has like criminally low life. So there's stuff that can be done, but yeah, I might end up pulling some damage off the tree and picking up more life nodes, because damage is not a concern right now. Past that, we'll go into the links. We'll just start with the helmet. Basically, Frost Blink linked with Leap Slam, linked with Intim and Bloodstand. You don't need any of these to be linked, by the way. Like, you can just throw it in wherever. These are completely free sockets that don't need to be linked to anything. Now, in the boots, I'm running Ancestral Protector, Multi-Totem, and Maim. Multi-Totem is level 7 right now because I don't have enough int to run it higher. If I ever get, if I decide to divine this further and get higher roll in the Ashes, then that will go up like, you know, a few levels. But right now it's at level 7. Not really a big deal, to be honest. I think higher level just gives the totems more damage, which we don't really care about anyway. Overall, Ancestral Protector and Ancestral War Chief do contribute a decent amount of DPS to a boss. Like on sheet, it's like 500 to 600k extra DPS. But most of that damage isn't actually them dealing damage. They deal like 150 to 200k DPS. Most of the damage that they're getting is from proccing the impales that I put on the target, right? So I have like a 500k impale on the target. Like my impales are like 500k, and they're hitting it like 10 times a second. They're basically just proccing 500k every time they attack on top of whatever they're hitting for. That being said, like I said before, I don't include that damage in the DPS of the POB because it's unreliable, and that feels like it's definitely padding, because you're not going to have 100% uptime on the totems on their DPS. Sometimes they're going to die. Most of the time they'll just be up and out of range of the boss, but you'll still be getting the buff from them, is typically what happens. But yeah, we have it linked up with MAME because, you know, damage. And then Ancestral War Chief is by itself, simply so when I pop Vol Ancestral War Chief, I don't throw out both. You can keep them linked if you want. It doesn't really matter. I haven't really found it to be a big deal one way or the other. But I unlinked them just because basically the opportunity cost here is that only your Ancestral Protector will MAME if you have, if you don't have it linked, but you get 2 uses of Vol Ancestral War Chief. Whereas if you do link it up, both totems will MAME, which will make it a lot more consistent to keep MAME up during a fight. But you do lose the double Vol Ancestral War Chief. So it's whatever you want to do. Quality of life versus, you know, consistency. From there in the gloves, you can't even see what this is on the top, but this is our Molten Shell. It's level 10, level 1 cast when damage taken, and then we're using a Pride. A lot of my vols like missed on everything, which is really depressing, but we're running Pride that's level 22 due to +1 to AoEs in the gloves and +1 from the ashes. And then Determination also didn't hit the +1 either, which is also level 22. Now, moving on to the main links with Rage Vortex, it's just Rage Vortex, Pulverize, Close Combat, Brutality, Melee Fizz, and Bloodlust. Again, very important. If you don't have a Volnon hit ring, if you are not applying vulnerability, you need to be using Rage support. This is the next best thing. Rage support is also really, really good early on if you don't have the Rage on hit implicit on your gloves, simply because this will allow you to stay at that 75 Rage every time you need to throw another Rage Vortex out. From there, we have Anomalous Sunder linked up with Pulverize, Close Combat, Melee Fizz, and finally Life Tap. The last link will be Brutality when we get to it, but right now in this 6 socket, we have Dread Banner. And that's everything on these sockets. I did finally get all my instillings up and running. Currently not running anything crazy. I'm running a 50% instant recovery life blast with CB removal, curse effect reduction on a Jade with a useless prefix, increased duration with increased armor on our Granite. On our Quicksilver, we're running reduced effective shock with a pretty useless prefix. And then lastly on the Quartz Blast, I have increased attack speed and increased duration. The attack speed's kind of whatever. I'm thinking about just running another reduced effective shock or something on it, but it's just I didn't have alterations at the time and they're fully instilled now, so my wrists are happy. That's everything with the flask. And I believe that's everything, if I recall correctly, with the build and what's going on so far. So like I said originally, got to finish farming up my 1500 fusings. Today we're going to get our 86 bases to craft our final GG chest piece. And from there, we need to replace the belt as well. After we get the chest and the belt done, we're going to work on boots. And finally, replacing the last 2 rings and the gloves. And throughout all of this, I will be intermittently amassing things to do our endgame axe craft as well. So that's the current plans. Overall, current impressions on the build. You can see the Sunder Wave is very fast. We also need to farm lab, not because I need to, but because I want to, and I want to feel what a truly instant Sunder is. Is it necessary? No. Will it make a big difference in how the build feels when the wave is this fast? I don't know. But I'm going to find out. And just the spectacle of having a truly instant Sunder Wave sounds very fun to me. It sounds very fun. I will say when I got the ashes, I tried the tech that I mentioned out of turning off Blood and Sand and using Herald of Ash to supplement clear. And it works quite well. It really does. And I have enough damage that I don't need to care about Blood Stance or whatever. But honestly, I ended up dropping it anyway because I don't feel like I need it. Like, I feel like everything just dies and I don't actually need the supplement for clear speed. So yeah, you can do that if you want. Like I said, you can still use Great Old One's Tentacles. You can use Astanos Gentle Touch. You can use any of that tech you want to help supplement your clear if you want to. But honestly, I haven't really felt the need. I feel like the Sunder Waves are very fast. The AoE gets quite big. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Anywho, that's everything. That's everything for the build. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Like I said, currently halfway through 96, just been focusing on crafting up a bunch of gear. It's a lot slower this patch, but slowly I've been working my way through like the to-do list of all the chores I have to do and all the mechanics I don't want to interact with, interacting with them and getting all the stuff I need from them for the most part. So we're kind of getting to the point where we can just start juicing really hard soon though. Like I said, that lab is a huge wall. Farming Abyss and stuff for bases, it goes really fast though, and it's not a big deal. Anyway, past that, as soon as this video goes up on YouTube, I will be live over at Twitch if you want to see it, you know, the build live in action, or if you want to talk it up, ask about the build, ask about what I'm playing next, stuff like that. And that's going to be everything in this video. So if you guys wanna support me, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, it's okay to give me a thumbs down and leave some constructive criticism down below in the comments. Other than that, like I said, Twitch, if you want to throw me a follow over there, sub to me on this YouTube channel, that always helps. Aside from that, you can share the video, or maybe join the Discord, or follow me on Twitter. Those are all the ways you can currently support me. I'm very, very active in my Discord. I'm checking it 24/7 whenever I'm not asleep. I even check it intermittently while streaming. I have a build help channel in there, and I'm very, very active, and I try to be on top of helping everyone with their POBs and everything as much as they need it, as soon as they ask. So I try to be very on top of that. There's no fee or anything you don't have to pay. So that's, yeah, that's everything. That's all the plugging. Thanks a bunch for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Stay safe.